Jai Saparikashi Shiku Gaur Chandraju Ki Jai. Jai Shiki Raj Govardhanju Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupai Paramahamsa Pari Brajakacharjasta Terasita Shri Shivan Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupai Paramahamsa Pari Brajakacharjasta Terasita Shri Shivan Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Haribol, welcome to Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission morning class. Dandavat Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitangstam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidangscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Haribol. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnu Pade Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Haribol. Now we're on the last chapter of the Anjalila, chapter 20, and now the development of the Shikshastika verses in the heart of Mahaprabhu, as described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Text number 56. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So we read text 56 yesterday, and with the description given out in the scriptures, and also we heard from Srila Guru Maharaj that Srimati Radharani is saying, if a gopi envious of me, meaning her supreme position of devotion, she is the source of devotion. But if someone wants to be competing with me, if a gopi envies me, actually satisfies Krishna, and Krishna desires her, I shall not hesitate to go to her house and become her maidservant, for then my happiness will be awakened. Kushti Viprera Ramani Pativrata Shiromani Patilagi Kaila Veshyara Seva Stambila Suryera Gati Jiaila Mrityapati Tushta Kaila Mukyatina Deva. The wife of a Brahmin suffering from leprosy. Oh, I didn't realize this was here in this chapter. I forgot that. The wife of a Brahmin suffering from leprosy, the Brahmin was suffering from leprosy, manifested herself as the topmost of all chaste women by serving a prostitute to satisfy her husband. Thus she stopped the movement of the sun, brought her dead husband back to life, and satisfied the three principal demigods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. The Aditya Purana, Markandeya Purana, and Padma Purana tell about a Brahmin who was suffering from leprosy, but had a very chaste and faithful wife. He desired to enjoy the company of a prostitute, and therefore his wife went to her and became her maidservant, just to draw her attention for his service. When the prostitute agreed to associate with him, the wife brought her leprotic husband. That leper, this sinful son of a Brahmin, saw the chastity of his wife, and he finally abandoned his sinful intentions. While coming home, however, he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi, who thus cursed him to die at sunrise. This part I forgot, and Guru Maharaj didn't include that when he was telling this story. So here it says, so while coming home, however, he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi, who thus cursed him to die at sunrise. Because of her chastity, the woman was very powerful. Therefore, when she heard about the curse, she vowed to stop the sunrise. Did you hear that, Prabhu? Because of her strong determination to serve her husband, the three deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, were very happy with her, and they gave her the benediction that her husband would be cured and brought back to life. This example is given here and to emphasize that a devotee should engage himself exclusively for the satisfaction of Krishna without personal motives. That will make his life successful. So she had no personal motive whatsoever. She was 100% simply devoted to her husband, and thus she became very powerful. She was backed by the great personalities of the universe. Krishna Mora Jivana, Krishna Mora Pranadana, Krishna Mora Pranera Parana, Hridaya Upade Daron, Sevakari Shukikaron, E Mora Sada Rahe Dhyana. Krishna is my life and my soul. Krishna is the treasure of my life. Indeed, Krishna is the very life of my life. I therefore keep him always in my heart and try to please him by rendering service. That is my constant meditation. Mora Sukha Sevane Krishnara Sukha Sangame Ataiva Deha Dena Dana Krishna More Kantakarika He More Praneshwari Mora Haya Dashi Abhiman. My happiness is in the service of Krishna, and Krishna's happiness is in union with me. For this reason, I give my body in charity to the lotus feet of Krishna, who accepts me as his loved one and calls me his most beloved. It is then that I consider myself his maidservant. Kanta seva sukapura shangamahaite samadura sumadura tate shakshi lakshmi thakurani narayana hritistiti tabupada sevayamati sevakare dashi abhimani. Service to my lover is the home of happiness and is more sweet than direct union with him. The goddess of fortune is evidence of this, for although she constantly lives on the heart of Narayan, she wants to render service to his lotus feet. She therefore considers herself a maidservant and serves him constantly. E Radhara Vachana Vishuddha Prema Lakshana Asvadaye Shri Gaura Rai Bhave Manana Hestira Satvike Vyape Sharira Manadeha Dharana Najaya. These statements by Srimati Radharani show the symptoms of pure love for Krishna tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that ecstatic love, his mind was unsteady. Transformations of transcendental love spread throughout his entire body, and he could not sustain his body and mind. Brajera Vishuddha Prema Jena Jambu Nada Hema Atma Sukera Jahanahi Ganda Se Prema Janate Loke Prabhu Kaila Eish Loke Pade Kaila Artera Nirbanda. The pure devotional service in Vrindavan is like the golden particles in the river Jambu. In Vrindavan, there is not a trace of personal sense gratification. It is to advertise such pure love in this material world that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written the previous verse and explain its meaning. Ashlishava padaratam pinashtuma. Whatever it is that you wish, that is my seva. Hari Om. Very wonderful. Hey Mata Mahaprabhu Bhavavishtahanya Pralapa Karila Tat Shloka Padhiya. Thus overwhelmed by ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke like a madman and recited suitable verses. Purve ashta shloka kari loke shikshadila Eyasta shlokera arta apane ashvadila. The Lord had formerly composed these 8 verses to teach people in general. Now he personally tasted the meaning of the verses, which are called the Shikshastaka. Prabhura Shikshastaka shlokas jai pade shune Krishna prema bhakti tara bade dine dine. If anyone recites or hears these 8 verses of instruction by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his ecstatic love and devotion for Krishna increase day by day. Jadyapiha Prabhu Koti Samudra Gambira Nanabhava Chadro Daye Haena Astira. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is as deep and grave as millions of oceans, when the moon of his various emotions rises, he becomes restless. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is as deep and grave as millions of oceans, when the moon of his various emotions arise, he becomes restless. Jai Jai Shloka Jaya Deva Bhagavate Rayera Natake Jai Are Karnamrite Se Bhave Shloka Karya Patane Se Bhave Shekare Na Asvadane. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read the verses of Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govinda, of the Srimad Bhagavatam, of Ramananda Rai's drama Jagannath Vallabha Nataka, and of Bilva Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita, he was overwhelmed by the various ecstatic emotions of those verses. Thus he tasted their purports. Dvadasha Vatsara Aichedasha Ratri Dine Krishna Rasa Asvadaye Dui Bandusane. For 12 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained in that state day and night. With his 2 friends, he tasted the meaning of those verses, which consists of nothing but the transcendental bliss and mellows of Krishna consciousness. Se sabalila rasa apane ananta sahasra vadane varnina hipana anta. Even Anantadev, who has thousands of faces, could not reach the end of describing the transcendental bliss of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Jiva kshudra buddhikon taha pade varnite tara ekakana sparshi apana sodite. How then could an ordinary living being with very little intelligence describe such pastimes? Nevertheless, I am trying to touch but a particle of them, just to rectify myself. Jata chesta jata pralapa nahi paravara Se Shavabarnite Grantahaya Suvistara. There is no limit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities and his words of madness. Therefore, describing them all would greatly increase the size of this book. Vrindavana Dasa Pratama Jai Lila Varnila Se Shabalilara Ami Shutra Matra Kaila. Whatever pastime Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has first described, I have merely summarized. Taratyakta avashesha sankshepe kahila lila rabahulye granta tatapi badila. I have only briefly described the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. The ones that are described by him, I have simply summarized, and those not described by him, I have just touched briefly on them. Nevertheless, because those transcendental pastimes are so numerous, the size of this book has increased. Ataiva se shabalilana parivarnibare samapti kari lulikate kari namaskare. It is impossible to describe all the pastimes elaborately. I shall therefore end this description and offer them my respectful obeisances. It is impossible to describe all the pastimes elaborately. I shall therefore end this description and offer them my respectful obeisances, those pastimes. Te kichu kahilu e digdarashana e anusare habitara asvadana. What I have described gives merely an indication, but by following this indication, one may obtain a taste of all the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Isn't that astonishing? What I have described gives merely an indication, but by following this indication, one may obtain a taste of all the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhura Gambhira Lilana Paribhujite Buddhi Pravesha Nahitate Na Parivarnite. I cannot understand the very deep, meaningful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My intelligence cannot penetrate them, and therefore I could not properly describe them. I cannot understand the very deep, meaningful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My intelligence cannot penetrate them, and therefore I could not properly describe them. Shabashrota Vaishnavera Vandiya Charana Chaitanya Charitamrita Kailun Samapana. After offering my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of all my Vaishnava readers, I shall therefore end this description of the characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Akasha Anantatate Jaiche Prakshigana Charajata Shakti Tatta Kare Arohana. The sky is unlimited, but many birds fly higher and higher according to their own abilities. No one can fly across the entire sky. No birds, but the birds are flying higher and higher according to their ability. No one of them can fly in the entire sky. Aiche Mahaprabhu Lila Annahi Ora Para Jivahanya Keva Shamyak Pare Varnibara. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like the unlimited sky. How then can an ordinary living being describe them all? Java Pudira Gati Tate Kavarnilung Samudrera Majjena Akakana Chungnilung. I have tried to describe them as far as my intelligence allows, as if trying to touch a drop in the midst of a great ocean. And we should not take these things as exaggeration. Nityananda Kripa Patra Vrindavanadas Chaitanya Leelaya Teho Hayena Adivyas. Vrindavan Das Thakur is Lord Nityananda's favorite devotee, and therefore he is the original Vyasadeva in describing the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport. So Vyasa is a description of someone who is giving divine knowledge. So who compiled the Veda and finally gave the Srimad Bhagavatam? Of course, that is Veda Vyasa. But the Vyasa of Chaitanya Leela is being named here as being Vrindavan Das Thakur. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that all writers after Vrindavan Das Thakur who are pure devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who have tried to describe the Lord's activities are to be considered like Vyasa. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the original Vyasa in describing Chaitanya Leela, and all others who follow in his footsteps by describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are also to be called Vyasadeva. So Bhakti Dvaipayana Vyasa, the Vyasa of the Veda, and Srimad Bhagavatam chiefly, most prominently. And then there is Vrindavan Das, Vyasa, and others. The bona fide spiritual master is called Vyasa because he is a representative of Vyasa. Worshipping the birthday of such a spiritual master is called Vyasa Puja. Tara age jajapi shabalilara bandara tatapi alpavarniya chadilena ara. Although Vrindavan Das Thakur has within his jurisdiction the full store of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he has left aside most of them and described but a small portion. Jai Kichuva, of course everyone knows Vrindavan Das Thakur composed the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Jai Kichuvar Niluseha Sankshepa Kariya Dikite na pare na tabur rakiya chena likiya. What I have described was what was left aside by Vrindavan Das Thakur. But although he could not describe these pastimes, he gave us a synopsis. Chaitanya Mangale Teho Likiya Che Stane Stane Seva Chana Shuna Se Parama Pramane. In his book named Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Bhagavat, he has described these pastimes in many places. I request my readers to hear that book, for that is the best evidence. Sankshepe kahilo bistarana jaya katane vistariya veda vyasa kariba varnane. I have described the pastimes very briefly, for it is impossible for me to describe them in full. In the future, however, Veda Vyasa will describe them very elaborately. Chaitanya Mangale Iha Likiya Che Stane Stane Satya Kahena Age Vyas Kariba Varnane. In the Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Vyasa Vrindavan Das Thakur has stated in many places the factual truth that in the future Vyasadeva will describe the Lord's pastimes elaborately. The statement Age Vyas Kariba Varnane is similar to a text in the Chaitanya Bhagavat in which Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Sheshakande Chaitanya Ananta Vilas Vistariya Varnite Achena Veda Vyas. The unlimited pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be described by Vyasadeva in the future. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that these statements indicate that in the future, other representatives of Vyasadeva will elaborately describe Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. The purport is that any pure devotee in the disciplic succession who describes the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is confirmed to be a representative of Vyasadeva. Chaitanya Lilamrita Sindhu Dug Dabdi Samana Krishna Nurupa Jari Bari Teho Kailapana. The ocean of nectarian pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like the ocean of milk. According to his thirst, Vrindavan Das Thakur filled his pitcher and drank from that ocean. Tarajari Sheshamrita Tarajari Sheshamrita Kichumore Dila Tatake Barila Petak Trishna Moragela. Whatever remnants of milk Vrindavan Das Thakur has given me are sufficient to fill my belly, and now my thirst is completely satisfied. Ami atik shudra jiva pakshi rangatuni sejai che trishnaya piye samudre rapani taiche ami akakana chunilulilara e distante janiha prabhura lilara bistara. I'm just looking up one word here. I'm a very insignificant living being, like a small red-beaked bird. Just as such a bird drinks the water of the sea to quench his thirst, so I have touched only a drop of the ocean of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. From this example, you may all understand how expansive are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Amiliki eha mitya karyanumana amara sharira kashta putali samana. I infer that I have written is a false understanding, for my body is like a wooden doll. He's saying I have written these things like a little bird, a small little red-beaked bird that tastes a little of the water of the ocean. But now he's saying, but I have not written this. Vidya juratura ami andabadira hastahale mano buddhi nahe morastira. I am old and troubled by invalidity. I am almost blind and deaf. My hands tremble and my mind and intelligence are unsteady. Nanaroka grasta chalite vasite napari pancharoga pida vyakula ratri dine mari. I am infected with so many diseases that I can neither properly walk nor properly sit. Indeed, I am always exhausted by 5 kinds of diseases. I may die at any time of the day or night. Purve grante iha karyachi nivedana tatapi likhiye shuna ihara karana. I have previously given an account of my inabilities. Please hear the reason why I nevertheless still write. Shri Govinda, Shri Chaitanya, Shri Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Shri Bhakta Ara, Shri Stotra Brinda, Shri Swarupa, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Raghunatha Dasa, Shri Guru, Shri Jiva Charan, Iha Sabara Charana Kripaya Lekaya Amare, Ara Akahaya Teho Ati Kripakare. I'm writing this book by the mercy of the lotus feet of Sri Govinda Dev, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, other devotees and the readers of this book, as well as Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Jiva Goswami. I've also been specifically favored by another Supreme Personality. Shri Madan Gopal Morele Kaya Agyakari Kahitena Yujaya Taburahitena Pari. Shri Madan Mohan deity of Vrindavan has given the order that is making me write. Although this should not be disclosed, I disclose it because I am unable to keep silent. Na kahile haya mora krita gunatag dosha dambakari bali shrota na kari harosha. If I did not disclose this fact, I would be guilty of ingratitude to the Lord. Therefore, my dear readers, please do not consider me too proud or be angry with me. Toma sabara charana duli kari nuvandana tate chaitanya lila hailak jai kana. It is because I have offered my prayers unto the lotus feet of all of you that whatever I have written about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been possible. Ebe anchalila ganera kari anuvada kaile paili lara asvada. Let me now repeat all the pastimes of the Antya-lila, for if I do so, I shall taste the pastimes again. So we can stop here and then tomorrow. These are the concluding verses. Repeating all those pastimes of the Antya-lila. Haribol. In fact, after each volume, it was my intention, and for myself, that I want to read just the English verses of that volume, and remember all of the pastimes of that volume. But I always forget to do it. So here we're going to hear from Srila Krishnadas himself, Krishnadas Kaviraj himself, all the pastimes again of the entire Antya-lila. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj ki jai, Srila Om Vishnupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. One of the Vyasas of Chaitanya Lila. Haribol. Jai Shri Shri Upadesamrita ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai, Raghunath Das Goswami ki jai. Shri Upadesamrita. We will chant the shlokas, including the 10th shloka, and continue to read what Srila Guru Maharaj has given us. Now, on the 10th shloka, many pages are left of this, and now Srila Guru Maharaj is describing the Ramananda Samvat. Very, very, very important for us.
Do we have that scripture here?
Which one? Ramananda Samvad is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's the 11th chapter of the Madhya Lila, I believe. Or 8th chapter. 8th chapter, maybe. Okay. Vacho vegam manasakroda vegam jiva vegam udarupasta vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhira sarvam api mambrati vimsasisyad atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha loyam cha sadbir bhaktir binashyati utsahanishchayadaryat tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vrite sabir bhaktir prasidhyati. Dadati pratigrahnati guhyam makyati pritchati bhungte bhojayate chaiva sadvidam pritilakshanam krishneti giridham yasya giridham manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranati pischapajantamisham Shushushaya bhajana vigyam mananyamanya nindadi sunya hridamipshita sangalabhya tishtai shvabhava janite vapushascha dosher na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pasyet gangam vasam nakulabha budapena pankher brahmadavatvam apagachati niradharmai Syat Krishna nama charitadi sitapya vidya pitopadapta rasanasya rochikanu kinvadaramanandinam kalu saiva jushta swadvikramad bhavatinad Gadamulahantri Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manisid Niyojya Tishtan Bhajetad-anuragi Jaganugami Kalam Nayera Kilamit Upadeshasaram Vaikunta Janito Varamadupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavad Vrindaranyamudharapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhana Radha Kundamihapi Gokulapate Premamrita Plavana Kuryadasya Birajato Giritate Sevam Vivekinakaha. Now number 10. Karmibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktibhya yurgyanina tebhyo gyani vimukta bhakti parama premaikanishtastataha tebhyasta pashupala pankajadishastabhyopi saradika prestatadviriyam tadiya sharashi tamnashrayet kakriti. These are the gradations of the pure. So this is, the Gyanis are known to be more dear in all respect to Krishna than are the Karmis. Devotees completely free from Gyan are more dear than those Gyanis. And devotees fixed exclusively in prema are more dear than the devotees who are merely free from Gyan. The lotus-eyed gopis are more dear than those, and Sri Radhika is even more dear than all the other gopis. This lake of hers is similarly dear to Krishna. Would any fortunate soul not take shelter there? Page 269, right in the middle. Mahaprabhu prays, please accept me as your slave and give me a salary in terms of prema. Let me acquire real love for you, for your own, and for everything that belongs to you. And this, again, was just expressed by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in the sense that he is giving all credit for his writing, for the being able to compose Chaitanya Charitamrita to Krishna and those who are fully dedicated to him, like the 6 Goswamis, Swarup Damodar, all of that. He's naming everyone, and even his readers, saying, you are also giving me that. So this is this type of mood that we will want to understand very well. So prema means self-giving, self-distribution, the tendency to distribute oneself. Prema is that which will help us most intensely engage ourself in service. Not some feeling, oh, I'm going to get this really good feeling. But prema means most dedication. Prema will excite us more and more for service. Why? Prema moves in a circular way. The remuneration for prema is the tendency to engage more in service to the object of our love. So it is continuous, it is dynamic. It is not that one will acquire prema and then feel, now I am a king, I shall enjoy this. I have no necessity engaging anymore in further service. I'm very important now. I'm too important to engage in service. Such a stage will never come because prema itself is what promotes the spirit of service. More and more and more and more. More sacrifice, more surrender, more servant. Prema actuates us more and more toward the service of the object of our love. So service will acquire prema, and prema will induce us to service. In other words, the interest will be converted into capital. Vetana mori deha prema dana. Please give me a salary of prema. This means more and more interest will accrue, and that interest will again be added to the capital, then more interest will accrue, and so the cycle will continue. The interest which is gotten through service will turn into service. We shall serve, and the remuneration for our service will be more and more tendency to serve. The world of dedication is thus the opposite of this world of exploitation, where as much as we enjoy, we are to incur debt. Our enjoyment will give us debt, and our service will give us service. Kama, lust, and prema, love, are opposites. We should not misunderstand lust to be love. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kame prema dekabai lakshane te bedanai tabu kama prema nahi hai. Apparently there's no difference between lust and love. Still, you must be fully confident that lust is not love. Charma mangshamaya. Lust is concerned only with flesh and blood, but prema chiranandadam. Prema is conscious and spiritual. It is the highest acme of spiritual experience. Prema is never mundane, never an affair of the material sphere. This is the distinction between them. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Ataeva kama preme bahuta antara, kama andatama prema nirmala bhakshara. Although kama and prema are apparently similar, they are actually opposites. One is like dense darkness, and the other is the brightest sun. This differentiation is the all-important thing. Kama and prema are just opposite to each other. They are like Sumeru and Kumeru, the North Pole and the South Pole. Atmendriya priti vanchatare balikama, Krishnendriya priti ichadare prema nama. Seeking pleasure for our own senses and ego is lust, and seeking the satisfaction of Krishna is love or prema. Then we can come to the plane of consciousness. The plane of consciousness is a plane where we can actually perceive the truth that everything is conscious. And how? We will see that everything is for Krishna. That is the plane of consciousness. The plane of illusion, everything illusion, that is the plane of death and unconsciousness. It's not truth. One is the most nasty thing, and that other is the most divine thing. They may appear to be similar to the ordinary person, and they may not be able to detect the difference between them. But to anyone who can understand and examine the inner substance of things, the vast distinction between the two is detectable. That is why when we are reading either Chaitanya Charitamrita or Srimad Bhagavatam, we are reading from the beginning. The Prakriti Sahaja group, they're not interested in the beginning of these books. They don't want to hear how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They want to hear, he's doing this in the forest and this, all nonsense. They have no idea what that is about at all. And so they think, yes, we're part of that. Kama and prema are similar and yet opposite, just as an object and its reflection are. The highest peak of a tree standing on the bank of a lake is seen in its reflection to be the lowest. Similarly, the highest thing there in the divine plane is reflected here as the lowest. Kama is the perverted reflection of prema. Kama is self-centered, sense-centered, and prema is Krishna-centered, center-centered. Mm-hmm. One is the end of the outer current, and the other is the end of the inner current. Ego, the nasty ego, and sense satisfaction take us away from Krishna. And searching for Krishna, finding through theistic development the all-accommodating, loving center, Krishna, above Brahma, Nirvishesh Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan, and then trying to merge into his interest is just the opposite. This is rare even for liberated souls. What to speak of so many fallen souls in the bondage with some nasty idea. Srila Rupa Goswami says, from the time I received a touch of just the shadow of real Krishna prema, this worldly sense pleasure became so nasty. Jadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde navanava rasa dhamman yudyatam rantumasit tandavadi bhatanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara shusta nistivanam cha. Sorry, I didn't read that very well. When I came in connection with Krishna consciousness of different types of astounding, ecstatic joy, then from that time, if any of this human sensualism comes to my mind, then my whole figure recoils and some spit comes to my tongue. You know what recoil means?
No.
Like that. Like, ugh. Like if you touch a snake and he coils up. Just like that.
Recoil.
So he feels, when even he hears about any of these things, some spit comes. He wants to spit.
Recoil will be also about when you shoot a gun as well.
Maybe you could say like that. Yeah. That's called the recoil, is it? Okay, right. This means some extreme hatefulness for that thing comes within us. So on one side is a noble thing, and on the other is such a nasty thing. The sense pleasure which we have by union of the male and female is the most nasty thing. But its opposite in connection with Krishna is the noblest thing. So now, in the Kali Yuga, these things are promoted as being in any perverse form, in any perverted, any form, as some kind of virtue. That is the symptom of the Kali Yuga. It is like anything which is completely the lowest kind of sense enjoyment is promoted as being some kind of noble cause. Very disgusting thing. This means some extreme hatefulness for that thing comes in us. So on one side is a noble thing, and on the other side, such a nasty thing. The sense pleasure which we can have. Okay, kama is to become a slave to sense pleasure, fleshy things, and prema is the soul's highest reach in the domain of high and noble sacrifice. Just as one's selfish love for one's family and love for one's country are opposites, and one is to sacrifice one's family interest for the interest of the country. So we should give up negligent parts and engage in wholesale sacrifice for the center of the whole. So one person can be sacrificed for the family, one family can be sacrificed for the village, one village can be sacrificed for the country, and everything is to be sacrificed for Krishna. So our selfishness is to be sacrificed for a higher cause. But ultimately, the whole cause is for the whole. And Krishna is the absolute truth. He is by himself and for himself. What else would he be for? He's the absolute reality. Would he be for something else? Everything is to be for him. This is absolute harmony. And all the little increasingly degraded positions and causes, so-called causes of hellish life, brings about an absolutely different result on every level, individually and socially. Prema is to engage in wholesale dedication for the satisfaction of Krishna, and kama is to try to utilize Krishna for our own personal satisfaction. This is the most dangerous thing. There can become a mood, even among those who are in the association of devotees, that Krishna is somehow existing to serve me. And if I'm good, I will get all these nice things in this world. That the sunrise is so beautiful, and it is Krishna's making it happen, and now I'm enjoying myself. We have to change our angle of vision. We must change our angle of vision. That this sun is rising for Krishna, and I am also existing for him. We have to come into that plane of beauty. It is surcharged in the deepest level with devotion. Reality, the environment is surcharged with devotion. But we must come into that by practice, by real practice. So this difference should be grasped, as should all the different stages of life, found through Bhuva Swamaha Jana Tapasatya Biraja Brahmaloka and Paravyom. If we can follow the steps properly in this way, then we can easily catch what is what. And this is given, of course, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita in the second part, in the whole pastime of Gopakumar, coming through all these different planes of consciousness, and how each one looks very, very perfect. Of course, he's beginning with devotion. He's not beginning with junk. He's beginning with devotion, and it looks very perfect. But then he goes to the next place, and that is more perfect. And going to the next place, it is very clearly more perfect. And coming to the edge of the universe, the material elements and their full-bloomed prospects, he's easily crossing beyond that. And so many things are happening, but this is a very important book for us. So this difference should be grasped. The steps must not be ignored. We are to recognize the super subjective. We are subjects, and this world is our object. But the subject of ourselves, the super subject, should be recognized, and then again the subject of that super subject. So when Guru Maharaj is explaining, this world is our object, we must take this in the full context. We shouldn't. What he's saying is, Srila Guru Maharaj is saying that the objects of the senses are projections of the senses. And the senses are the projections of the mind, that the mundane intelligence and the false ego. So all this, the plane of illusory perception is a projection of the mind. This is normal. So we shouldn't think, oh, this is my object, and then that is really good. It says in the scriptures, But no, it's not like that. We have to understand the full context of that. That when we enter into the plane of illusion, just like a madman, what he sees is a projection of his mind, right? He's not seeing properly. In precisely the same way. What we perceive as the object of my enjoyment is simply a projection of our deluded consciousness. It is not, we are not seeing things as they are. And to cultivate that in the name of some kind of virtue is heinous, and the result will be horrific. We are subjects, and this world is our object, but the subject of ourselves, the super subject, the super soul, should be recognized. And again, the subject of that super subject, the super soul is an expansion of Mahavishnu. And who is Mahavishnu an expansion of? Shankarshan. And who is Shankar an expansion of? Lord Baladev. And who is Baladev an expansion of? Sri Krishna. All of these things have to be understood. The whole understanding of the Chaturvyuha, Lord Narayan, the second Chaturvyuha, how Shankarshan is expanding into Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is expanding himself into each universe as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who is the super soul of everyone. All these things have to be understood properly. And let's not stick our nose into the garbage of what can be found online, especially. And this is what we want to see. All this horrible nonsense. Well, we have free will, so let's see. Okay. We should, all of these things should be recognized, and then again the subject of that super subject. In this way we may progress toward the higher subjective world of consciousness. Then we will reach the land of love, divine, prema. So tomorrow we'll continue here, and Srila Gurupansh will begin to speak about Brihad Bhagavatamrita, beginning with this next paragraph. In Brihad Bhagavatam we find that in the course of realization of Shuddha Bhakti, Devarshi Narada visits different places, and then so on, what we're reading now, and then later on the pastime of Gopakumar. Prabhu, would you please bring me the drum? Jai Shri Shri Upadesamrita ki Jai, Srila Rupa Goswami ki Jai. Haribol. Haribol Jai. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shrimad Jai Saparika Shri Shri Guru Gaur Chandraju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dardev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Sri Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Tadiya Shakar Mat Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission Ki Jai. Kol Kartal Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol Jai. Ki Jai.
Good morning, and thank you to all the online devotees that are with us this morning. Shanta Didi, Sita Didi, Lavanya Didi, and you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.